eldest son's wife, but that doesn't mean I plan to get along well with you, Nicole. I want to maintain a proper distance." These were the words of my brother's wife when they had just gotten married, and the three of us, my mother, my sister-in-law, and I, were having a tea together. While it's true that maintaining a proper distance is important, I still remember being stunned by her audacity to say such a thing to us directly. The reason we had tea together was because my mother wanted to build a closer relationship with Amanda. Apparently, she didn't realize that my mother was trying to be considerate, and I was disappointed about that. After we got home, I sighed at her words and attitude. My mother, smiling, a bit lonely, saying, "She must still be feeling tense." My name is Nicole. I am a 33-year-old office worker. I've been living with my mother in our family home since my father passed away from illness 10 years ago. My brother and younger brother both have their own families, but I have no plans to marry yet. It's not that I don't want to get married, but I find my job fulfilling and am satisfied with my current life. One evening, my smartphone rang. The display showed my sister-in-law's name, Amanda. She just had her first child recently. It was very unusual for her to call me. As I answered the call, she said, "It's been a while, Nicole. I just gave birth the other day, but I haven't heard anything from you. Normally, I would expect my sister-in-law to offer congratulations on the birth." I thought to myself, she hasn't changed a bit, as she began the conversation with such a blunt statement. She is the same age as me, and has been married to my brother for 7 years. My brother is head over heels for her. I would never say it out loud, but I have never liked her. She tends to make sarcastic remarks and has a nagging way of speaking. For some reason, she doesn't act this way towards my brother. "Amanda, it's been a while. I should have contacted you sooner. I apologize. Congratulations on your childbirth." I had been busy with work, and since my sister-in-law had just given birth, I thought she would be busy too, so I held back from reaching out, but that seemed to have backfired. However, in her case, it would be wise not to mention that. I had once apologized to her for something and used work as an excuse, only to receive an annoying response like, "Are you trying to show off how busy you are because I only work part-time? You don't have to brag about it." Of course, I had no intention of showing off. As I apologized sincerely, she snorted. "Well, whatever. You should come see the baby sometime soon. She's a cute little girl. You're enjoying your single life and working hard, so I'm expecting a nice baby shower gift from you." That's her real purpose, I thought, feeling disheartened. Although the baby is my adorable niece, and her birth is indeed something to celebrate, I couldn't help but wonder why my sister-in-law had to make such unnecessary remarks. I just wish she would let me offer my congratulations with genuine feelings in my own time. "All right, I'll come visit with my mother on a day that works for you." "Oh, please don't bring your mom. I'm not good with her. Besides, I already introduced her to the baby when we left the maternity ward. We even got the congratulatory money from her." I felt irritated by her words. What kind of attitude is that? It's as if she's saying there's no other reason to meet my mother other than for a celebratory gift. Besides, is it right for me to hear about how difficult her mother-in-law, my mom, is to deal with? "Ah, okay, I understand. Please let me know a convenient day, and sorry, but I need to go. I need to take my dinner break now." Amanda's insensitive remarks weren't anything new. But I didn't want to feel any more uncomfortable, so I just replied casually and hung up the phone. I felt very uneasy. Seeing me come down the stairs with a scowl, my mom, who was preparing dinner, tilted her head. I thanked her for the meal she served and told her about the conversation with Amanda. I was so upset, I had to vent to my mom. Well, that's too bad, but there will be plenty of opportunities to see the baby, my mom said nonchalantly, seemingly unfazed by Amanda's words. But it's been quite a while since she married my brother, and her attitude is just too much. Your anger on my behalf makes me happy. By the way, I couldn't give it to you the other day because I wasn't ready, but could you take this with you as well? Despite hearing my complaints, my mom still wanted to give an additional gift. I smiled bitterly at the wrapped present. Mom, you're really too kind. All right, I'll make sure to give it. It's a celebration for the baby, after all. My mom nodded with a smile. There's a lot to think about when it comes to my sister-in-law, but it's for my adorable niece. I decided to think of it that way. On the day I went to Amanda's house, I ran into my younger brother's wife, Emily, on the way. She was also invited to the house, just like me. Emily married my brother 4 years ago and quickly became pregnant and gave birth. She's currently pregnant with her second child. I might be rude to compare, but unlike my other sister-in-law, Emily is cheerful and honest, and she gets along well with my mom and me. When we arrived at Amanda's house, she greeted us with an unusually good mood. She led us into the living room, where the sleeping baby lay in a crib. The innocent sleeping face soothed my heart. We laughed together in hushed voices so as not to wake the baby, and took our seats on the sofa. After Emily handed over her gift, I followed by giving mine. Here are some blankets, toys, and this, a baby outfit that my mom made. She unwrapped the package containing the clothes my mother made. Upon examining the contents, she let out a heavy sigh. Handmade? That's worse than trash. Even though she's the grandmother to her eldest son's child, why does she give us such a cheap-looking gift? The other items aren't great either. I'm so disappointed in her. She carelessly threw my mother's handmade clothes on the floor, and my other sister-in-law quickly picked them up. That's so terrible. Our mother-in-law took her precious time making them and wrapping them so neatly. If you don't want them, I'd be more than happy to take them. My sister-in-law laughed dismissively at Emily's words. Ha 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 ha! Really? If you want them that badly, go ahead. Her tone was blatantly condescending. If you think they're worth keeping, please do. I'm sure my mother would be happy too. At my words, my other sister-in-law's face lit up. I'm so happy. These are like high-end brand clothes. When the baby is born, I'll dress them in these. I can't wait. Her innocent joy was somehow comforting. If my mother were here, she would probably say the same thing. Wait, what do you mean by high-end brand? She seemed utterly confused. After the 3 of us siblings became independent, my mother started selling her handmade crafts online, using her skills in sewing and other hobbies. Compared to when she started, her work is now considered a high-end handmade brand due to the quality of materials and design. The handmade aspect makes them rare and valuable, and she even received collaboration requests from luxury brands. Amanda had no interest in me or my mother, and kept her interactions to a minimum, so she was unaware of this. My brother should have known, but perhaps he didn't feel the need to mention it. After I finished explaining, she said, I never heard about that. Wait, that changes things. Give it back. She tried to snatch the clothes back from my other sister-in-law. I quickly intervened, sitting between them, and managed to keep her safe. What would you do if something happened to Emily and her unborn baby? My sharp tone seemed to hit a nerve with my sister-in-law. Her face turned red, and she started venting her emotions like steam from a kettle. Nobody would think that clothes made by my mother-in-law as a hobby would be a high-end. It's like a trick, you sly woman. She began. Nicole gets to continue doing what she loves, even though we're the same age, and it's not fair. She continued. Emily, ignoring me as the elder sister-in-law, had a baby right away and is already expecting her second. It's so sneaky. Show some consideration and hold back a little. In summary, that was her rant. Most of it had nothing to do with the current situation, and it seemed like the majority was jealousy towards me and Emily. I got the feeling that I finally understood why she was always so harsh towards my family members other than my brother. Upon getting married, she quit the job she loved and switched to part-time work to focus on housework and trying to conceive. In the midst of that, she may have harbored resentment towards me for having the freedom to work and my other sister-in-law for her quick pregnancies. But that's a separate issue. It doesn't mean she can say whatever she wants or destroy someone's heartfelt gift, whether it's high-end or not. Amanda's emotions exploded, and she started crying loudly, which caused the baby to cry as well. As Emily, who was worried about the baby, tried to approach, Amanda restrained her, yelling, "Don't touch my child!" Emily and I were at a loss for what to do when my brother came home from work. Seeing his wife and baby crying in this strange situation, my brother's face contorts. What happened? Well, as I explained the situation to my brother, who picked up the crying baby to soothe it, he apologized to Emily and me. I'm sorry. Amanda might be a bit neurotic from her first time parenting. Emily, I'm sorry to trouble you when you're pregnant. Are you feeling okay? His concern for Emily's well-being seemed to upset his wife even more, and she yelled at him. Don't flirt with someone else's husband when you're pregnant! My brother scolded her, saying, Stop it! But his wife just whimpered and started crying again. I'll handle it, so you two don't worry and go home. I'm sorry things turned out like this, even though Amanda invited you over. As my brother looked apologetic, we left their house. Outside, the sun was starting to set, and it was getting dark. I wonder if Amanda's all right. I understand how she feels since I was tense during my first pregnancy, and it was tough mentally. On the way home, despite having been verbally abused, I still worried about Amanda. My mom and Emily are such kind-hearted people. At least it doesn't seem like she was hurt by the harsh words, which makes me feel a bit relieved. Don't worry, my brother's there, so everything will be fine. As I tried to cheer her up, a smile finally returned to her face. A few hours later, after dinner, I returned to my room and picked up my phone to find multiple missed calls from my sister-in-law, Amanda. Yikes! At this point, I had a bad feeling. As I hesitated, my phone vibrated again, and her name appeared on the screen. I wanted to turn the phone off, but, resigning myself to the situation, I answered the call. Why didn't you answer sooner? I responded to a clearly irritated Amanda. I was having dinner. What is my brother doing? He's in the bath now. If he were right there, he'd have stopped her from calling, so it makes sense. My brother takes long baths, so she probably wanted to complain about something while he was not around. Even though I have an idea of what's going on, I asked her, So, what can I do for you? Send another set of baby clothes. At her words, I couldn't help but blurt out, What? Are homemade clothes worse than trash? Stop nagging. It's a high-end brand, right? I want to brag about it on SMS. Ask your mother to make another one. I sighed. Fed up with her ridiculous request, which was even more absurd than usual. I wasn't expecting her to apologize, but this was too much. As I was at a loss for words, she became even more aggressive. What's with the sigh? Emily says. I've already gotten mine, and everyone else. Really? From her tone, I could tell she had called my other sister-in-law before me. She probably claimed the clothes as her own and tried to snatch them. Not realizing how absurd her words and actions were, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Shame on you, Amanda. Throwing my mother's heartfelt gift on the floor, calling it worse than trash, then flipping your attitude when you find out it's a high-end brand. Aren't you embarrassed as an adult? If you really want it, apologize to my mother and ask her yourself. I had never been harsh with Amanda before, all because I was considerate of my mother and brother, but I'd reached my limit. My mother knew the whole story about giving the baby clothes to Emily. I don't like the idea that she thinks she can get them by just asking me. She should bow her head and ask for it herself once in a while. So you're saying all those mean things because it's about my child? Her voice was shaking after hearing my true feelings. It has nothing to do with that. I denied it, but she fell silent, and I could hear her sobbing on the other end of the line. She seemed to be quite sensitive when it came to being criticized herself. Everyone is so cold. I finally gave birth to a baby, and nobody's pampering me. I'm blocked by Emily, ridiculed by you, and my husband won't even take my side. In the end, only David is on my side. A sudden mention of an unfamiliar name made me doubt my own ears. I was shocked to hear that even gentle Emily had blocked her, but she must have said something terrible to her on the phone. Wait, who's David? At my question, she gasped. Realizing that she had let something slip, she seemed to be panicking. As I waited for her to say something, I heard my brother's voice asking, "What's going on?" He must have just gotten out of the bath. She was startled, too, and she stammered. No, that's not. David is just an online friend. You're misunderstanding things. I didn't know what the misunderstanding was, but my sister-in-law was desperately making excuses. I suddenly heard my brother's voice as he took over the call and took the phone away from her. "You're talking to Nicole. Sorry, Nicole, but I need to talk to her for a moment." His voice was lower and angrier than usual. I agreed and hung up the phone. It's probably going to be a stormy situation from now on. Later, my brother came to our house to report that he was getting a divorce. First, he apologized for his wife's treatment of our mother's handmade clothes as trash. Amanda felt belittled when she received handmade gifts as presents. This is ironic, considering how she always looked down on Emily, my mother, and me. After the phone call, my brother confronted his wife about the mysterious David. While my brother was busy at work, she met David online and eventually cheated with him in person. Amanda confessed everything. She tried to justify it as a mistake made out of loneliness, but that excuse doesn't hold water. I knew my brother was trying to adjust his work to support his wife's parenting and spend more time with the family, so thinking about his feelings was heartbreaking. Even my usually mild-mannered mother showed her anger toward Amanda. They're going to do a DNA test on the baby just in case. I never imagined that a simple visit to deliver a baby gift would have escalated to this point. In the end, the DNA test disproved the parent-child relationship between my brother and the baby. My brother received a large amount of compensation from his wife and her cheater, and the divorce was finalized. She was dumped by her lover as well, and now she'll likely work day and night. I'm relieved to hear that the baby will be raised by her sensible grandparents, not Amanda. 3 years have passed. My mother's handmade clothes and accessories are still loved by many. Emily and I are, of course, longtime fans. I got married last year and am now pregnant. My mother is already excitedly planning the baby's clothes. My brother, who was deeply hurt by my sister-in-law incident, recently found a new girlfriend. I sincerely hope that he will find true happiness this time.